3 hours before the wedding, my fiancée said there was no need to pick her up. She had turned around and gotten a marriage license with Ethan Sinclair. I endured the guests' whispers and gossip, but then my fiancée's aunt, Victoria Covington, pushed open the hotel doors. She arrived with the most luxurious wedding fleet, presenting 9,999 roses, and said she had been secretly in love with me for years, that marrying me was her dream. Moved that she had saved me from such humiliation, I nodded and agreed on the spot. In 3 years of marriage, Victoria had 7 miscarriages. We had just managed to get pregnant again. She happily stood on her toes to kiss me, promising she would take excellent care of herself and give birth to the fruit of our love. But at 3 months pregnant, I overheard her talking to her private doctor, President Covington. Just like the previous 7 times, I've put the abortion pills in your milk. I don't understand. You were willing to donate your own egg for Ethan Sinclair, so why are you unwilling to have Mr. Windsor's child? Victoria let out a self-deprecating laugh. Only by producing an heir can I take over the group. Chloe is infertile, so how could I bear to see Ethan suffer in the future? So, the vows of deep affection were nothing but a lie. If that's the case, then I'll just leave. By doing this, you're not only giving up the chance to become the next chairman of the group, but you've also lost 7 of your children with Mr. Windsor. You've had me falsify your niece's medical reports all this time. She still doesn't know the child in her belly is yours and Ethan Sinclair's. When the child is born, it won't be able to call you mother. Is it really worth it? Victoria's expression was a mixture of deep affection and melancholy. So what? Since I couldn't marry Ethan back then, I'll protect his happiness for the rest of his life. No one can ruin it, not even my child with Sincere. The doctor hesitated. But you've already had 7 miscarriages. If you do this again, I'm afraid you might not be able to get pregnant in the future. Mr. Windsor is so looking forward to this child. Victoria pressed her lips together and after a long moment said, "It's fine. Having me by his side is enough for him." The veins on the back of my hand, gripping the study doorknob, bulged and trembled uncontrollably. Before Victoria could discover me, I stumbled back to the bedroom in a daze and slid to the floor. I had always thought there was something wrong with my body, that it was my fault Victoria couldn't carry a pregnancy to term, leading to 7 miscarriages in 3 years. And Victoria's mother had made it clear long ago, whether it was her or her granddaughter Chloe, whoever gave birth to the heir first would become the next chairman of the group. To keep me from getting suspicious, she refused to even use contraception. I actually felt guilty, thinking I was the one holding Victoria back. It turned out that all those vows of deep love were nothing but a lie. In her eyes, both I and my dead children were nothing more than obstacles on Ethan Sinclair's path to happiness. "Sincere, why are you sitting on the floor?" Victoria walked into the bedroom and quickly helped me up, her face full of concern. "It's nothing, my stomach just felt a little upset." She rubbed my back soothingly to help me breathe easier. "Hubby, you've worked so hard taking care of me lately. Next time you feel unwell, you have to call me. Don't suffer alone. It breaks my heart. I haven't been sleeping well since I got pregnant. The doctor said warm milk helps with sleep. When the baby is born, you'll have to give him a good spanking for me, for not taking pity on his mommy." Looking at that glass of milk, a sharp pain flared in my chest. Would I really ever get to see my own child? It was the same before each of Victoria's previous miscarriages. She would obediently follow the doctor's advice, never missing a single prenatal nutritional meal or supplement that was good for the fetus. I thought she was as excited as I was for the baby's arrival, but I never imagined those were the very knives used to kill our children. "Honey, you've never liked the taste of milk. Please don't drink it, okay?" Victoria gave a helpless smile, but her tone was firm. "Sincere, don't be difficult. The doctor said that the things you dislike the most are what your body is lacking. If I don't sleep well, the baby won't rest well either. Don't you love him the most? For you and for our baby, I have to drink it." She drank the milk in one gulp without the slightest hesitation, giving me no chance to stop her. Victoria, are you that afraid my child will stand in Ethan Sinclair's way, or is it that, in your heart, you only want to have children with him? I closed my eyes in despair. In less than half an hour, the drug took effect. Victoria curled up on the bed, her body contorted in pain, her forehead beaded with sweat. The moment she called her private doctor, he walked through the door. It was obvious he had been waiting outside all along. Even though I had been through this 7 times, losing another child still felt like a knife twisting in my heart. In a daze, I heard the doctor say, "Mr. Windsor, President Covington is bleeding more from this miscarriage than any of the previous ones. I'm afraid her body is permanently damaged. She will likely never be able to conceive again." The blood in my veins turned to ice. My hands were cold. Victoria said nothing, just looked at me with red-rimmed eyes full of guilt. "Sincere, don't worry. Even if we don't have children, I will still love you. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life." The powerful president, who had been pampered since birth, ignored her own post-miscarriage state, took my hands and pressed them to her heart, trying to warm them with her own body. She refused to let go even as she slept. Late at night, a sleeping Victoria murmured in her dreams, "Ethan, don't be afraid. I will definitely help you find happiness." The tears I had held back for so long finally broke free. At our wedding all those years ago, she had also promised to give me happiness, but it was just a lie to pacify me so I wouldn't disturb Ethan Sinclair. I suddenly realized my marriage had been a complete and utter joke. I sent a text to my childhood friend who was abroad. "You mentioned before that you wanted me to travel the world with you. I've made up my mind. I'm flying to France to meet you the day after tomorrow." Putting down my phone, the thought of having just lost another child, murdered by his own mother, made it hard to breathe. I locked myself in the bathroom, replaying every moment of my years with Victoria, as tears streamed down my face. As I stood up, my phone accidentally fell to the floor. When I bent down to pick it up, I noticed something under the sink cabinet, wrapped in layer after layer of expensive silk, cherished with exceptional care. Opening it, I found a thick photo album. It contained every photo of Ethan Sinclair from the age of 15 to his current 28. I had seen an album with the same cover in Victoria's office before, and Victoria had a passion for photography. Although Victoria was Chloe's aunt, she was only a few years older than us. When we were kids, she would often watch Chloe and me fooling around with a cool, detached expression, as if she couldn't be bothered with childish games. Then, when I was 15, Ethan Sinclair took the initiative to become my friend. I didn't think much of it. Seeing he was always alone, I introduced him to Chloe and Victoria. It seems that's when Victoria started joining our activities and took up photography. I thought she had just matured, but it turned out she had met someone she liked. Only a few of the photos in the album were ones I had seen before. Most were of moments I had never even noticed. Ethan's every smile, every frown, every angry pout, even just a simple stretch, Victoria had captured them all with her lens. Ever since we got married, Victoria had never touched her camera again. Once, I asked her to take a picture of me, but she claimed the camera was lost and instead recommended a famous photographer. It wasn't lost, it was just that her lens was reserved only for the one she loved. My eyes were dry, I couldn't shed another tear. I silently put the album back. I bought a plane ticket on my phone and drafted a divorce agreement. Since she loved Ethan Sinclair so much, I would grant her wish. The next morning, my eyes were swollen like walnuts. Victoria was heartbroken. After personally making me a nutritious breakfast, she boiled an egg, carefully peeled it, and used it to reduce the swelling around my eyes. Her attentive and caring demeanor almost made me wonder if last night had been a dream. Seeing I hadn't taken a bite, she sighed. "Sincere, our baby is gone. I know you're sad, and I'm heartbroken too, but you have to take care of your body. Please eat something, don't make me worry, okay? Where is the baby's body? I want to see him. At 3 months, my child would have been formed, yet he never had the chance to come into this world." And the answer I got was the same as the previous 7 times. I've already had the baby properly buried. You're too emotional right now. I'm afraid you'll be too sad if you see him. Mom and Dad are devastated about the baby. Let's go back to the family estate for dinner tonight and see them." As soon as we entered the estate, I saw Ethan Sinclair clinging to my mother-in-law's arm, acting cute and coy. Seeing me, he raised an eyebrow in a show of triumph. "Sincere, you're here, long time no see. Have a seat. I heard Victoria had another miscarriage because your little swimmers are poor quality. You must have been up all night grieving. Don't wear yourself out." Ever since the wedding incident, Chloe, Ethan, and I had a complete falling out. I usually visited the estate when they weren't around. I didn't expect such a coincidence today. I remembered the picture he posted on his social media feed of Chloe's 6-month pregnant belly and thought of how it was Victoria's child, and a pang of pain shot through my heart. She had never allowed my child to live past 3 months in her womb. Upon seeing me, my mother-in-law's face instantly darkened. "You useless waste. How many times has this been? And you have the nerve to be tired. How did my daughter end up with a thing like you?" She was Victoria's biological mother, but Chloe's step-grandmother, only 50 years old this year. How could she not be furious, watching the chairmanship that should have belonged to her daughter being snatched away by Chloe? In the past, Victoria would have defended me, but now her eyes were only for Ethan, filled with longing and infatuation. She was deaf to anything else. "Grandma, don't be angry. Sincere just isn't fated to be a father. He didn't want to lose so many children either," Ethan cooed. My mother-in-law snorted. "He's a doomed star, only good for dragging my daughter down." Ethan feigned concern and was about to get up to pull me to a seat, but as he rose, his body swayed. Even though he steadied himself quickly, Victoria shoved me aside. Ignoring the presence of her parents, she placed her hand on Ethan's face and asked anxiously, "Ethan, are you okay?" Ethan shot me a provocative glance and said to Victoria in a whiny voice, "Vicky, I think I just twisted my ankle. It hurts so much." Without a second thought, Victoria wrapped her arm around his waist and helped him straight to a bedroom upstairs, not even sparing me a glance. My mother-in-law gave me a meaningful look, dripping with sarcasm. "Your own seed is useless, and you can't even keep your wife in check. If Chloe hadn't married Ethan first, do you think my daughter would have even looked at you? You still have the face to eat? Get upstairs. The sight of you ruins my appetite." I always knew my mother-in-law disliked me. She felt I was Chloe's cast-off, yet I had latched onto her daughter, bringing shame to Victoria. And because of Victoria's multiple miscarriages, she despised me even more. But because she was Victoria's mother, and I also believed my body was the problem, I felt guilty. Besides, Victoria would always say a few words in my defense, so I always endured it. But now Victoria was busy fussing over Ethan Sinclair. How could she possibly remember me? For a moment I wanted to blurt out the truth, but in the end I gave up. Since I had already decided to leave, why waste my breath? I walked upstairs without a word and found that Ethan's bedroom door wasn't fully closed. On a whim, I walked over. I saw Ethan, his clothes in disarray, pressing down on Victoria. "Vicky, you're still the one who cares for me the most. Chloe is infertile. If Sincere Windsor had a child first, she wouldn't be able to inherit the group. I can't imagine how much I would suffer." Victoria was breathing heavily, the corners of her eyes flushed with desire. "Is Chloe good to you? Does she bully you?" "No. Ever since our embryo was successfully implanted, she thinks she's really pregnant. She praises my masculinity every day. Can't wait to spoil me rotten. She's afraid of tiring me out, so she even washes my feet and is extra gentle with me in bed." Victoria's expression soured slightly. "As long as she's good to you, as long as you can be happy, I have no regrets. Vicky, you've helped me so much. I can't marry you, so the only thing I can do is give myself to you. Tonight, I'm all yours." Victoria lost all restraint, actively pressing her lips to his, and the two of them tumbled together wildly. I never knew that the always cool and self-controlled Victoria had such a reckless side. Tears fell as I staggered back to my bedroom. Victoria didn't come back all night. The next day, she looked at me apologetically. Sincere, I wanted to come back and be with you last night, but Mom kept me talking all night. I really couldn't get away. I didn't expose her lie. I turned and went to the door to wait for her. A bucket of slop filled with leftovers was poured over my head. Ethan suddenly appeared in front of me, still holding the empty bucket. Sincere Windsor, was it a good show? Watching Vicky go wild under me? He sneered provocatively. So he had left the door open on purpose. The taste of losing a child isn't pleasant, is it? But you won't have that problem anymore, since Vicky can't have your children ever again. How dare you keep getting Vicky pregnant, trying to steal the position of the chairman's husband from me? Dream on. For me, Vicky not only gave up her right to inherit the group, but also endured the pain of egg retrieval multiple times, just so they could be fertilized by my little swimmers. Even your dead. They all became my supplements. I snapped my head up, my voice trembling. What did you say? What else did you think? Why do you think Vicky told you the baby was buried every time she miscarried and wouldn't let you see it? Of course, it's because I told her eating them would be good for my body. Despair, rage, and disbelief flooded my mind. So that was the reason Victoria wouldn't let me see my children. How could she go to such lengths for Ethan Sinclair? Ethan laughed gloatingly. Don't put on that pitiful face. Who can you blame? Blame yourself for being useless. With a useless father like you, your children only deserve to become my nourishment. I couldn't take it anymore. I raised my hand and swung it at Ethan's face. Slap. The slap didn't land on his face. Victoria pulled Ethan behind her, taking the full force of the blow herself. She pushed me hard, sending me to the ground, and roared, "Sincere Windsor, what are you doing?" Ethan pouted pitifully. "Vicky, I was just trying to comfort Sincere, telling him not to be sad about the baby. But he got jealous that I get to be a father and said I stole his future position as the chairman's husband. He tried to pour the slop on me. I pushed him instinctively. I didn't mean to. I already apologized, but he still tried to hit me, saying he'd make my child a fatherless orphan." Before I could explain, Victoria glared at me, her face grim. "Sincere Windsor, I never knew you were such a vain and materialistic man. It's your own incompetence that you can't protect your child. Why are you taking it out on Ethan and betraying his kindness? Stop coveting things that don't belong to you. Apologize to Ethan now, my incompetence? Ha!" I looked at her face and suddenly felt like I was looking at a stranger. "Victoria, tell me, where did you send the bodies of my dead children?" Victoria frowned. "They were buried, of course. Haven't I already told you that?" Her acting was truly superb. "Victoria, you're right. I shouldn't covet things that aren't mine. Don't worry, I will never oppose Ethan Sinclair again." With that, I turned and left without a moment's hesitation. Watching my retreating back, Victoria felt a sudden panic in her chest. She wanted to call out to me but was held back by Ethan. "Vicky, the slop splashed on me. I think my skin is having an allergic reaction. Can you take me to the hospital?" Victoria hesitated for 2 seconds, but ultimately she didn't follow me. Back home, I gathered everything Victoria had given me over the years and threw it all into a brazier. Just as I took out our marriage certificate, my messaging app chimed. I opened it. "Sincere Windsor, I just pretended to have a skin allergy." And Vicky anxiously summoned the best dermatology professors from all over the country for me. Even if they weren't local, she didn't hesitate to use a helicopter to bring them here. "Aren't you jealous?" I ignored him, watching as the flames consumed our marriage certificate, turning it to ash. I wasn't worried about Victoria seeing this, because I knew she wouldn't be coming back tonight. Sure enough, Victoria called. "Sincere, Ethan is having an allergic reaction and feels terrible. Chloe is abroad for her pregnancy, and as her aunt, I have to help take care of him. Please don't be angry." I thought of the photo Ethan had just sent me. He was rosy-cheeked, eating fruit that Victoria had personally cut for him. He didn't look the least bit uncomfortable. "Yes, I understand. The patient comes first. You should take good care of him." Victoria paused, then said softly, "Sincere, I didn't mean to snap at you today. I know you're emotional because we lost the baby. But Ethan is the father of the Covington family's future heir. You and I can no longer produce an heir for the family. If something happens to Ethan and it affects Chloe's pregnancy, I'm afraid Mom and Dad wouldn't be able to handle it. I found it laughable. Why did she need to make so many excuses? You be good at home. Tomorrow is your birthday. I've booked the best hotel and prepared a surprise for you. I'll be back to pick you up in the morning. By noon the next day, Victoria still hadn't returned. I placed the signed divorce agreement on the table and set a timed send for an audio file, with Victoria as the recipient. After doing all this, I grabbed my luggage and headed to the airport. Just as I arrived, Victoria called again. I'm sorry, Sincere. A few business partners came to the company unexpectedly to discuss next season's clothing collaboration. I really can't get away. I've asked my secretary to pick you up and take you to the hotel. Didn't you always want me to design a suit for you? I've already designed it. When you put it on later, you'll look amazing. Okay, good. Hanging up, my gaze fell on two young women nearby. They were huddled around a phone, looking at photos and saying admiringly, "Oh my God. I can't believe President Covington is not only beautiful but also designed such handsome menswear. I almost want to be a man. You think you could buy it even if you were a man?" All the clothes at this fashion exhibition today were exclusively designed by President Covington for her husband. Every piece is unique, in every style imaginable, using the most expensive fabrics. There must be several hundred pieces. I heard that President Covington didn't want to disturb her husband, so the exhibition isn't open to the public. Your boyfriend is amazing, being a manager at the Covington Group, able to get us these internal photos. Otherwise, we wouldn't get to see this public display of affection. In the picture, Ethan had his arm around Victoria's shoulder, strolling through the magnificent clothes designed especially for him, his smile brazen and wild. The Covington Group was in the fashion industry, and Victoria's design talent was exceptional. I used to playfully ask her to design a suit for me. She always said she was too busy, that she couldn't possibly find the time. But she had designed several hundred pieces for Ethan Sinclair. Recalling how she had just mentioned designing a suit for me as a surprise, her tone seeking praise, I found it deeply ironic. It was time to board. I turned off my phone and got on the flight to a foreign country. Victoria, after helping Ethan choose his clothes, went to the hotel for the birthday party. She imagined Sincere appearing in that suit, looking incredibly handsome. But she didn't see Sincere. Instead, her flustered secretary rushed in. "President Covington, it's terrible. Mr. Windsor is gone." Victoria looked at the suit she had sent with the secretary, which had been returned untouched. For a moment she didn't understand what he meant. She frowned and said, "What do you mean, gone? Isn't he at home?" "I'm afraid it's not just that he's not at home." The secretary handed her the divorce agreement with a complicated expression. Victoria froze. Before she could speak, Ethan walked over, saw the divorce papers, and sneered. "Sincere Windsor is hilarious. He's a grown man still playing these breakup games. Does he think he's a teenager? Vicky, he's just mad that you defended me yesterday. He knows you threw this whole birthday party for him, so he's trying to play hard to get, to make you bow down to him. Sincere has been stringing women along like this since he was a kid. I know him too well. Honestly, he was the one who hit me first. How dare he throw a tantrum? He should think about all the effort you put into his party and designing a suit for him. So heartless. Don't worry, Vicky. Just ignore him. He'll come crawling back on his own soon enough. He's a man in his late 20s who can't even have kids. Who else would want him if he left you? He'd do anything to cling to you. That's how lickspittles are. You can't spoil them or they get cocky." But Victoria was silent, her eyes glued to the divorce agreement. In the space for the husband's name, the signature Sincere Windsor was written with such force it nearly tore through the paper. You could see the determination behind it. She knew Sincere. He would never joke about something like this. Not long after they were married, she became pregnant with their first child. She was on the couch with him, scrolling through videos. They saw a video of a guy who threatened his wife with divorce every time they argued, and the woman would immediately back down and apologize. Victoria despised such tactics. She hated being threatened. Sincere had looked at her seriously and said, "Victoria, now that I've married you, I will never say the word divorce lightly. But if I ever do, it means I am truly leaving you." At the time, her mind was consumed with getting rid of the baby because Ethan had come to her in tears, saying Chloe was infertile and he would suffer if he didn't become the chairman's husband. So she hadn't taken his words to heart. Thinking back now, a wave of panic washed over her. After Ethan finished speaking, the surrounding guests also shot mocking glances, not at her but at Sincere. Because of Victoria's multiple miscarriages, people in their circle secretly called Sincere the weak seed commander. Victoria had heard these rumors before and had always just shrugged them off with a smile. But now, those stares felt unbearable, and she began to feel annoyed with Ethan. Today was Sincere's birthday. Did he really need to talk about him like that in front of so many people? Others might not know why she had miscarried, but didn't he? Victoria's face hardened. "Ethan Sinclair, Sincere is your uncle by marriage. Is it appropriate for you to always address him by his first name?" Ethan was stunned and a little embarrassed. I'm just used to it. "Sincere is my friend, after all." "Is he? I've known Sincere longer than you have. He has never been a lickspittle to anyone, nor has he ever strung any woman along. Even when you stole Chloe from him, he never pestered either of you. Why would you say that about him? Is that what you call a friend?" Victoria looked around. "Today's party is cancelled. I'm going to find my husband. Please, help yourselves." Ethan quickly grabbed her, trying his old trick. "Vicky, I don't feel well. Please don't go." But this time, Victoria, who had always given him whatever he wanted, wasn't buying it. She had always believed Ethan was a beautiful, fragile moonlight that she needed to protect. But the words he had just spoken had shattered that image in her mind. Victoria pulled her hand away, her voice cool. "If you don't feel well, go see a doctor. Chloe should be back from abroad today anyway. You should have your wife with you. I am, after all, your aunt. I've done everything I can for you. From now on, you and Chloe will have to walk your own path. This is where it ends between us. I'm going to find Sincere now. And one more thing, I don't want to hear those kinds of words ever again. Don't take advantage of Sincere and then slander him. You'd better watch yourself." With that, she left without looking back. As soon as she got home, her private doctor called her. "President Covington, wasn't the fashion exhibition you held for Ethan Sinclair supposed to be private? How did it get plastered all over the internet? What if Mr. Windsor sees it? He just lost a child. He can't handle that kind of shock." Only then did Victoria realize that someone seeking online traffic had secretly taken photos of her and Ethan and posted them online. So, had Sincere seen them too? A notification popped up in her email. It was the audio file from Sincere. Victoria opened it with a flicker of hope, but after hearing the contents, her face turned deathly pale. So that night, Sincere had known everything. No wonder he had begged her so pitifully not to drink that glass of milk. And what had she done? "Hello, President Covington, are you listening? If you have time, remember to bring Mr. Windsor in for a checkup. He didn't look well the other day. He can't come." "What?" A sob caught in Victoria's throat. "Sincere knows everything. He's gone." By this time, I was already on the other side of the ocean. As soon as I got off the plane, I saw my old friend Felix Young from a distance. After I told him the whole story, Felix was so furious he rolled up his sleeves, ready to fly back and fight Victoria and Ethan to the death. I stopped him. "Forget it. I've left the divorce papers. I don't want anything to do with them ever again." Felix patted my shoulder sympathetically. "It's for the best. Good riddance to that deadbeat dame. Otherwise, you might have ended up dead by her hand without even knowing it. Let her and that lowlife Ethan Sinclair destroy each other. You're handsome, you're talented. Back in college, directors were fighting over your scripts. If it weren't for that scumbag Victoria, you'd be a star screenwriter by now." A wave of bitterness washed over me. Felix and I had both majored in screenwriting and were hailed by our department's professor as the two future stars of the industry. Felix was a staunch bachelor and moved to Australia to pursue his career right after graduation. I had just married Victoria, and she, under the pretext of not wanting me to suffer at a regular job, wouldn't let me work, telling me to just relax at home. From that moment on, I was plunged into the nightmare of losing child after child. Thankfully, I had now crawled out of that nightmare. Felix said he had a project he couldn't handle alone and hoped I would partner with him, offering a 50-50 split. I smiled and nodded. After all, being a screenwriter was my dream. But before that, let's have some fun. We can write a script anywhere. My last script sold for a fortune, So You're With Me Now, and We're Living Large, Traveling the World, was a promise we made to each other in college. And now we could finally fulfill it. While Felix and I were running wild, eating and drinking our way across the globe, Victoria was back home, going crazy looking for me. A workaholic who had never missed a day, she hadn't been to the office in a long time. Chloe was preparing to take over as chairman, desperately trying to impress Mr. Covington Sr. Unfortunately, some projects were Victoria's responsibility, and only she knew the details. But since she wasn't going to the office or answering her phone, Chloe was left in a very difficult position. After making several poor decisions, Chloe was harshly reprimanded by Mr. Covington Sr., and her appointment as chairman was postponed. Ethan went to find Victoria, hoping she would go back to the office and help out. After all, he didn't want to see his prize slip through his fingers. Vicky, still no sign of Sincere Windsor. He's really something else. There's a limit to throwing tantrums. Because of him alone, the company is in chaos, and you're so exhausted. Shut up, I can't be bothered with you, and you have the nerve to push your luck with me? The company is in chaos because Chloe is incompetent. What does that have to do with Sincere? Victoria roared. She had never yelled at Ethan, let alone cursed. Startled, Ethan's lip quivered, his eyes welling up with tears. Vicky, I was just worried about you. Why are you yelling at me? You're scaring me. Victoria laughed coldly, then suddenly grabbed his neck, her smile terrifying. Ethan Sinclair, what are you still pretending for? You're scared? You dared to eat Sincere's flesh and blood as a supplement, and you're telling me you're scared? What supplement? Vicky, I don't know what you're talking about. Ethan's expression was frantic. Victoria had expected this. She pulled up the security footage from the front gate of the estate from that day. Ethan had been so arrogant and fearless that he had forgotten about the cameras. All these years you pretended to be weak in front of me. You acted so concerned for Sincere to my face, but behind my back, you bullied him like this. If it weren't for what you said at the birthday party, I still wouldn't have realized how two-faced you are. Because of your hypocrisy, I killed my children with Sincere, one after another, and now I can't have any more. I deserve to die, I accept that. But you dared to bribe someone close to me to take those children, and you even provoked Sincere on purpose. He was no longer a threat to you, so why couldn't you just leave him alone? With the truth exposed, Ethan was speechless and could only beg for mercy. Vicky, I had my reasons. The spiritual master I consulted said that only by eating those would my swimmers become strong. I was afraid our embryo would be too fragile. I was forced to do it, I really was. Enough all you think about is your status, your position as the chairman's husband. But have you ever thought about Sincere? Why did you tell him that I was the one who gave you the children? You just wanted to force him to leave me so that I would be your devoted lickspittle, didn't you? Didn't you mock Sincere for being a waste, for wanting to be the chairman's husband? Ethan Sinclair, I will make you know what it feels like to lose what you value most. Victoria clapped her hands and several menacing men in white coats walked in. Fear filled Ethan's eyes. What are you doing? I'm your niece's husband, the future chairman's husband. You can't touch me. Victoria smiled like a demon from hell. The chairman's husband? You drove Sincere away and you still think you can have that position? Take that filthy thing out of him. No anesthesia. Then watch him eat it raw. The men dragged Ethan away. A short while later, his screams echoed throughout the villa. While traveling in Iceland, Felix and I fell in love with the aurora borealis. It was a beauty so stunning that even the most skilled photographer couldn't capture a tenth of its breathtaking splendor. We decided to settle here for a while and start writing our script. Besides writing, I also took up sea fishing and would often sell my catch at the harbor. One day, Felix and I were haggling with a stingy old man over a fish. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut in, "I'll buy all of this seafood." And just like that, Victoria appeared before me. She stared at me with a look of obsession and longing, finally speaking softly, as if afraid of shattering a dream. "Sincere, I finally found you." Before I could say anything, Felix turned into a fighter jet, shielding me behind him and cursing at Victoria. "You scum, you still have the nerve to look for Sincere? Isn't he miserable enough because of you? Get lost, we'd rather feed our stuff to the dogs than sell it to you." Victoria, a person who cared so much about her pride, didn't talk back despite being thoroughly berated. She looked at me with guilt and pleading. "Sincere, I know I'm a monster. I'm the one who wronged you. Can we please talk alone?" I said indifferently, "Victoria, you and I are no longer in a position where we can talk alone. You don't need to apologize to me. Go back." Victoria shook her head stubbornly. "No, Sincere, it took me so long to find you. How can I let you leave my side again? I never signed the divorce agreement, so you are still my husband." Felix was so angry he wanted to rush over and slap her, but I held him back, not wanting him to dirty his hands. I looked at Victoria and laughed mockingly. "So what do you want? For me to go back and continue being your husband? Victoria, I've already lost 8 children, and you can't get pregnant anymore. I can no longer provide supplements for your precious Ethan Sinclair. Your child with him should have been born by now. What are you doing here?" Victoria's face turned pale and she shook her head frantically. "No, Sincere, that's not what I was thinking. The bodies of our children, it wasn't me who gave them to him. He bribed someone close to me to do it, just to provoke you. How could I be so cruel?" I cut her off with a cold laugh. "So, because you weren't the one who handed them over, you're innocent? You can be forgiven? He was the one who stole the bodies, but you were the one who personally killed those children. Don't you think it's ridiculous to say this now?" Victoria's eyes were filled with remorse. "Sincere, I'm sorry. I truly know I was wrong. I've already dealt with Ethan Sinclair and that child. He won't bother us anymore. If you want, I can fight for the chairman position. Sincere, as long as you come back with me, I'll do anything." I looked into her tear-filled eyes and said, word by word, "Then why don't you go die?" "What?" Victoria froze, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Didn't you say you'd do anything? Then go die. Go and pay for my children's lives." For the first time, I saw a look of utter bewilderment on Victoria's face. "Sincere, do you hate me that much?" "Yes. I don't just hate you, I'm disgusted by you. The sight of you makes me physically sick, so get as far away from me as you can, understand?" As if struck by a massive blow, Victoria knelt before me, tears streaming down her face. I looked down at her silently, my heart completely still. "Victoria, when I married you, I truly wanted to spend the rest of my life with you. But you? For Ethan Sinclair, you aborted my children again and again, watching me break down mentally time after time, letting me suffer the ridicule of your mother and outsiders. Even then, I still begged you. I begged you not to drink that glass of milk, but you drank it anyway. I never cared about the title of chairman's husband. Whether you were rich or poor had nothing to do with me. Even the position of your husband. If you had just told me, I would have given it up. I would have taken our child and gone far away, never getting in your way. But you said nothing. You took it upon yourself to strip me of my right to be a father, making me endure the pain of my children's deaths over and over again. Victoria, admit it. In your heart, you never even saw me as a person." Victoria shook her head, crying, "No, it wasn't like that. Victoria, I'm doing very well now. It turns out that without you, I am this free and happy. If you truly want to make it up to me, then sign the divorce agreement, and then never appear before me again for the rest of your life." After saying that, I turned and walked away without another glance. Felix dumped the entire basket of fish and shrimp, with its strong, fishy smell, over Victoria's head and threw the basket at her. "Victoria, if you have any humanity left, let Sincere go. Don't ever bother him again. Victoria knelt there for a long time, letting the people around her point and stare, only staggering away late into the night. The next day, I found a divorce agreement at my door. Victoria had finally signed it. A few days later, a huge sum of money, amounting to several $100 million, suddenly appeared in my bank account. Felix ran over to me, holding his phone, completely shocked. Several explosive headlines jumped into view. Ethan S., the missing son-in-law of the Covington Group chairman. Body found in the basement of his wife's aunt's home. The state of the body was gruesome, and his stomach was found to contain preliminary judgment. Covington Group President Victoria C. turns herself in, confesses to the murder of Ethan S. in the first trial. Victoria C. is sentenced to death. Her parents collapsed at home and have been sent to XXX hospital for treatment. Chloe C., who suffered a mysterious miscarriage a year ago, has now recovered and officially taken over as chairman of the Covington Group. Covington Group stock has plummeted, with estimated losses. Felix was dumbfounded, stammering, "Is Victoria insane?" I stared at my account balance and said nothing for a long time. In the end, I kept the money and established a children's aid foundation. I guess it's a way to earn good karma for my children, hoping they'll be born into good families in their next lives. The script was completed smoothly, and Felix and I both made a fortune. We were at home drinking to celebrate. In a drunken haze, he asked me, "Victoria is dead. Are you sad?" Through my blurry, drunken eyes, for a fleeting moment, I seemed to see the day Victoria and I took our marriage license photo. Our heads were resting against each other, full of beautiful hopes for the future. I blinked, and it was just a drunken illusion. I shook my head, a drunken laugh escaping me. The past is hard to recall. It's better to let it go. The end.